Hey YouTube, Kiritwick here, bringing you all an update to my Super Quantum Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for April 2023. This is a really awesome deck that focuses on combining a bunch of different Xyz monsters into your main go-to boss monster, which is Super Quantum Mech King Great Magnus, a very difficult level 12 monster to get over once you have it on the field, depending on how many Xyz materials you have on it, and then just being able to utilize the different Super Quantum main deck monsters to summon out the many different Super Quantal Xyz monsters for all of the different card effects that they have and setting them up so you can go into your main go-to boss monster, like I said. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters. We're running 3 copies of Super Quantum Red Layer. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only use each effect of Red Layer once per turn. When it's normal or special summon, you can target 1 Super Quant card in your graveyard, add to your hand. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 Super Quant monster in your graveyard except for Red Layer and special summon it, but it cannot activate its effects. So the effects are irrelevant because your main important setup card for your Super Quantum monsters is your Super Quantum Mech Ship Magna Carrier, which can allow you to summon out the Super Quantum monsters and give you the options to special summon from the extra deck those monsters with just a discard resource cost. But being able just to have a search power and a special summon with Red Layer means that you can use Red Layer to at least set up 2 of the Xyz monsters on the field, which I'll go over at the end of the video. For the other Super Quantum monsters, 3 copies of Super Quantum Green Layer. When it's normal or special summon, you can special summon 1 Super Quant monster from your hand. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can discard 1 Super Quant card to draw 1 card, and you can only use each effect of Green Layer once per turn. A level 4 spellcaster monster that can be used to set up your Super Quantum Mech Beast Ouroboros, and if I didn't say it before, you use Red Layer to go into Super Quantum Mech Beast Magna Liger, having all of these different Xyz monsters based on the level of the Super Quantum monster that we run. It's set up, it's search power, you have all that thanks to Green Layer as well, with our third member being Super Quantum Blue Layer. When this card's normal or special summon, you can add 1 Super Quant card from your deck to your hand, except for Super Quantum Blue Layer. So with this card, it's a searcher for the field spell, if need be, and if it's sent to the graveyard, you can target up to 3 Super Quant cards in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck. You only use each effect of Super Quantum Blue Layer once per turn. It's the shuffle back power that this card can provide, being able to recycle a lot of the lower number cards we run in the extra deck back into your extra deck as well, for you to then reuse again. The 4th member for the Super Quantums is Super Quantum White Layer. Running 3 copies of this card, you can send one non-light Super Quant monster from your hand or face them on the field of the graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand in defense position. When this card is normal or special summon, you can send 1 Super Quant monster from your deck to the graveyard. If you do, this card's attribute and level become the same as that monster. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 Super Quantal Fairy Alphen from your deck or graveyard to your hand. And you can only use each effect of White Layer once per turn. So you could go into Super Quantal Mech Beast Luster X with your White Layer. You can use it to adjust into any of the other monsters we mentioned before, sending them to the graveyard, setting up this card's attribute and level to then match with the specific Xyz monster that you may need to get out on the field, and having a much easier monster from your hand to special summon out, just needing to discard 1 Super Quant monster to do so. For the last of the Super Quant monsters, we're also running 3 copies of Super Quantal Fairy Alphen. Once per turn, you can target 1 Super Quant monster you control. All face-up monsters you currently control become that monster's level. You can tribute this card to reveal 3 Super Quant monsters with different names from your deck. Your opponent randomly picks one for you to special summon and then send the rest to the graveyard. You can only use each effect of Fairy Alphen once per turn. More of the setup for your Xyz plays, but also just being a searcher if you were just to reveal 3 of your different Super Quant monsters. Your opponent picks one for you to add to your hand. The rest go to the graveyard, which still gives you some setup in the graveyard for you to utilize with your other ones, and then just being able to have that play thanks to this level 1 monster gives us targets for 1-for-1 or even just more of a setup using this card on the field to adjust those levels, like I said, to go into other Xyz monsters. For some of the non-Super Quant monsters I run, I also run 2 copies of Summoner Monk. I'm a big fan of this card just because we do run a good number of spells in the deck to discard, being able to special summon out our Green Layer off of this card, which then when it's normal or special summon, being able to special summon 1 additional Super Quant card from our hand onto the field thanks to it. So giving us more of a field presence, and then not having to utilize the field spell with Green Layer, since we can just overlay it with our Summoner Monk into our rank 4 Xyz play. And I also run a small Danger package, so 2 copies of Danger Nessie, 1 Danger Tsuchinoko, and 1 Danger Jackalope for the additional special summon power for our level 3 monsters. Now with this, you have more of a play to go into since you have special summon options thanks to Tsuchinoko and Danger Jackalope and Nessie all together, getting those level 3s, but also giving you more of a discard draw special summon to get into some of the more important cards of the deck. I don't have any level 5 monsters to work with Red Layer. I prefer just to use the Field Spell to set up Red Layer's plays. Jackalope and also Summoner Monk are just easier level 3 monsters and level 4 monsters to use with our other monsters to special summon out on the field while still extending some of our plays when we do so. And that is it for the main deck monsters. Moving on to the spells, I run 3 copies of Super Quantal Mech Ship Magna Carrier. Like I said, it's one of the most important cards in the deck because it sets up our Xyz monsters very easily. If you have multiple copies, you can always just have it be a discard cost, thanks to Summoner Monk as well. You can discard 1 card, target 1 Super Quantal monster you control, special summon from your extra deck 1 Super Quantal Mech Beast Xyz monster with the same attribute as that monster you control by using it as material. And you can send this card from the field to the graveyard to then target 3 Super Quantal Mech Beast Xyz monsters with different names you control, and or in your graveyard, special summon 1 Super Quantal Mech King Great Magnus from your extra deck, and if you do, attach all the targeted monsters to it as Xyz material. This is your go-to for your main boss monster, Great Magnus. So with that, you need to target the 3 Mech Beast Xyz monsters from you control and or in your graveyard using this card. So all you have to do is set up the 3 Super Quantal Mech Beast Xyz monsters, and you have your boss monster on the field as well. This is a 3 of just because you want to open it up as quickly as you can and have that set up ready to go. We're also running 2 copies of Super Quantal Alphen Strike. If you control 3 or more Super Quantal monsters with different names, shuffle as many cards your opponent controls as possible into the deck. Then your opponent special summons 1 monster from their extra deck, ignoring their summoning conditions. You can banish this card and 1 Super Quantal Alphen Fairy from your graveyard to activate 1 Super Quantal Mech Ship Magna Carrier from your deck. So another easy search for the very important field spell. You do have sort of a card that gives your opponent a boss monster for you to defeat with the Super Quantal Mech King, which can be a pretty fun play to use. You're not going to use it as often since you won't have the 3 Super Quantum monsters on the field to fight against that card, obviously, but you'll have this be more of a graveyard setup to do so against your opponent. I also run 3 copies of Piraeus Map. This is a great searcher, with this card being able to search out your Super Quantal Alphen Fairy, adding 1 monster with 0 attack from your deck to your hand, but half your life points. After adding it to your hand until the next activated card was activated, you can activate the added monster effects or the effects of cards with the same name until you normal summon that monster. But still, if you just normal summon Fairy Alphen, you have your search right there to tribute this card and give you the search. So you'll definitely use the effect after adding it with your Piraeus Map. And you don't have to use life points really for anything in this deck. So it's a good 3 of, even if it does half your life, you can still have a searcher to get into the very important plays that the deck is meant to run. I also run 3 copies of Emergency Teleport for the blue layer, just having an easy special summon of a resource on the field, and you don't have to worry about it being banished because most of the time you're just going to do the discard cost with the field spell, and then you'll have your rank 3 Super Quantal Mech Beast Grand Pulse to summon out afterwards. For some of the 1-ofs, I run 1 copy of Foolish Burial Goods, just to set up Alphen Strike in the graveyard for the banish with our Fairy Alphen to then get the search for the field spell. Foolish Burial to set up some other Super Quantum monsters in our graveyard, depending on which ones specifically that we need. 1 Terraforming to search out the, as I said before, very important field spell. And also 1 1-for-1 for the Alphen special summon. 1 copy of Change of Heart, because that 1 resource your opponent may have, whether it be level, 3, 4, 5, or even up to level 7, being able to take those resources away from your opponent and use them as yourselves. I even did a practice game against a Kashtira deck and was able to activate this, taking their Fenrir and then using it as an Xyz for the white layer. And then also 1 Monster Reborn and 1 Call by the Grave to finish off the rest of the spell lineup. As for the traps, the only trap that I run in the deck is Super Quantum Union Magna Formation. Your opponent cannot target Super Quant cards on the field with card effects during your main phase 1. You can target 1 Quantum Xyz monster you control, attach 1 other face-up monster you control to it as Xyz material. You can only use this effect of Magna Formation once per turn, just a better way to get more and more Xyz material on your Great King Magnus. And with this card being a searchable card, thanks to our blue layer, you really only need to run the 1 copy of it to begin with, setting it on the field, and then activating it to resolve from there. Moving on now to the extra deck, I run one copy of Super Quantum Mech King Great Magnus. You really only need the one copy of this card. It's going to be your go-to boss monster that you want to summon out in the deck. And if you really need to summon another one, you have shuffle back card abilities thanks to your blue layer to get this card back into the deck for you to resummon out. Now, if you want to run 2 blue Super Quantum Mech Beast Grand Pulse, you can either run the 2 copies here. I have the 1 Leviair as a space holder, but once again, if you want to run 2 copies, you have both of the options available to you here. Once this card's in the graveyard, you have the target needed for you to use with your field spell to go into your bigger boss monster. Otherwise, Grand Pulse is just good for the spell and trap destruction on the field and just needing 2 level 3 monsters, so you could use your Danger Engine to make this also. I have the same concept with Magna Liger. I have a Volcasaurus here as the spot holder here, having more of a monster destruction play with your Magna Liger. And for the rank 4, the Mech Beast Ouroboros. With this card, once per turn, detaching 1, target a face-up monster in the field, and change it to face-down defense position. So with this play, it's more of a Book of Moon setup, but giving you another play to go into for the summon, and then also being able to attach a Super Quantum monster onto it as Exceed material makes up for the fact that for a lot of these, you'll just be using the 1 Exceed material thanks to the field spell. I also run the 2 copies of Super Quantum Mech Beast Luster Rex, targeting effect monster on the field, negating that monster's effect, so you have more of an effect veiler kind of card thanks to this Xyz monster. And for more of the generic Xyz, 1 copy of Tornado Dragon and 1 Zeus to overlay with our Xyz monsters if we don't have the play to go into our Magnus. We at least have the use of our Xyz monsters to summon out something bigger that can board wipe the field. For the Link monsters, I run the 1 copy of Neo Super Quantum Mech King Blaster Magna. This is the combination of all 4 of the mechs needing 2 or more effect monsters, including a Super Quant monster. And the Link summon of this card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Each time a Super Quant Xyz monster with a different name from the cards you control is special summon from your extra deck to a zone this card points to, draw 1 card. And if a face-up Xyz monster this card points to is destroyed by battle by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon 1 Super Quant monster from your deck with a different original tribute as the destroyed Xyz monster. So it's sort of like the base of operations card, being able just to switch out many different other cards you run in the deck. That's why I'm also running the 1 copy of IP Masquerena, because you just need 2 more effect monsters, including a Super Quant monster. So if you have your IP Masquerena and then just the 1 additional Super Quant monster, you can use her on your opponent's turn to go into your Blaster Magna and have it be pointing at your Xyz monsters to then protect them on the field. Also the 1 Barricade Board Blocker for the fact that a field spell is very important in the deck, and the 1 Nightmare Unicorn. If you don't go for the Neo Super Quantum Mech King play, you have Unicorn to rely on with IP Masquerena as well. As for some of the go-to plays in the deck, as I said before, the setup is very important. So if you get your field spell ready to go, and then you have, let's just say you have your setup being your field spell, your Quantum Red layer, and then having that, and then just 3 unknowns in your hand, or even just for the play for the summon, if you have your setup being this card and your additional one being 1 emergency teleport. If you went second, it's more of a better setup. You have your 3 cards here to rely on. You'll activate your field spell, and then from there, if you went second, you'll have 3 unknown cards in your hand. Otherwise, you'll have the 2 if you went first. You will special summon out your red layer, and then you can use red layer's effect to add a monster when it's normal special summon, a Super Quant card from your graveyard into your hand. So you either have the search there, or you can have the, if it's sent to the graveyard, targeting a Super Quant monster in your graveyard. But other than that, you'll have the emergency teleport to then search out an additional monster, searching out your blue layer. And then when blue layer is summoned, being able to add 1 Super Quant card from your deck to your hand. So just being a Super Quant card, you can even search out your go-to green layer, having your normal summon there. If you went second, like I said, all the better. Just being able to discard 1 for that play and then attaching them onto it. So you have the 3 discards to then discard over each of your Super Quantum monsters, getting out your Super Quantum cards. And then also with this card set up as your play, with your monsters, being able to treat them as Xyz summons, being able to then utilize this card, being able to send this card from the field zone, and targeting 3 Super Quantum Mech Beast cards you control with different names, and then overlaying them into your main go-to boss monster, which is your Super King Great Magnus. Like I said, you need more of the go in second play, since you will have the 3 cards to discard for the field spell, but then this is probably the best way to utilize the search if you already had the play ready to go for all your monsters. You didn't invest your whole hand in it, but you did the main purpose of the play to get out your main go-to boss monster. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. It's a really awesome deck if you're a big fan of mechs and all that. This is definitely one to look into as more of a fun deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira, Twig out.